In the year 2007, a missile launched from Earth struck a satellite in orbit. In less than a second, the spacecraft shattered into over 3,000 pieces of debris, each one traveling faster than a bullet. Those fragments will circle the planet for decades, threatening astronauts, satellites, and even the International Space Station. It wasn't a science fiction scene. It was a real weapons test, and it marked a quiet turning point. The moment space stopped being just a frontier for exploration and became a potential battlefield. If the next great war doesn't happen on Earth, will it happen above it? Imagine looking up at the night sky and realizing that every bright point moving across it, satellites, space stations, even lunar probes, might one day be military targets. For decades, space was a realm of shared wonder. The 1960s gave us the moon landing, space shuttles, the birth of international cooperation in orbit. But behind the scenes, nations were already studying how to use the high ground for strategic advantage. Today, Earth's geopolitics have spilled into orbit. Satellites guide our missiles, map enemy positions, and connect military units in real time. If those satellites fail, economies grind to a halt. Think about it. No GPS for planes, ships, or supply chains. No secure communications. No early warning of missile launches. Control of space means control of the modern world. So, what do space weapons actually look like? Forget the laser cannons from sci-fi movies. For now, the real tools are more subtle and more dangerous. Some are ASATs, anti-satellite weapons, missiles fired from Earth to smash a target in orbit. Others are jammers, sending out powerful radio signals to block GPS or communication satellites. And perhaps most quietly, there's cyber warfare, hacking into satellite systems to disrupt them without firing a shot. But here's the nightmare scenario, the Kessler Syndrome. If too many satellites are destroyed, their debris could trigger a chain reaction, slamming into other satellites and creating even more debris. The result? Earth's orbit becomes a minefield, unusable for decades. That means no internet satellites, no weather monitoring, no space travel for anyone. And yet, nations keep testing. Much of this race is invisible. Many satellites are dual use, meaning they can serve both civilian and military purposes. A telescope monitoring weather could just as easily track an enemy spacecraft. Major powers, the United States, China, Russia, and others, have space programs whose military capabilities are shrouded in secrecy. The creation of the U.S. Space Force in 2019 wasn't just about a new uniform. It was a shift in military doctrine. It signaled that space is no longer an optional theater of operations. It's essential. But this secrecy fuels mistrust, and mistrust is the perfect breeding ground for escalation. Low Earth orbit, just a few hundred kilometers above us, is already crowded. But the ambitions of nations and companies reach far deeper into the solar system. Consider the moon. Plans for permanent lunar bases are often framed as scientific or commercial. But a base on the moon can also serve as a surveillance station, or a refueling depot for spacecraft on their way to Mars. And then there's the race for off-world resources, from lunar water ice, essential for rocket fuel, to asteroids rich in precious metals. Whoever controls those resources could control trillion-dollar markets on Earth. So, picture this. In the year 2040, two rival powers stake claims to the same asteroid. Mining ships arrive. An accidental collision damages one vessel. Was it an accident? Or the first shot in an interplanetary conflict? Right now, our best guardrail is the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. It bans weapons of mass destruction in space. But it doesn't mention cyber weapons, jammers, or anti-satellite missiles. And unlike nuclear arms control, verifying compliance in space is incredibly difficult. That means one nation's defensive technology could look a lot like someone else's offense. one wrong assumption could spark disaster. We're also entering an era where private companies are launching more spacecraft than governments. SpaceX, Blue Origin, OneWeb. They operate fleets of satellites that now form part of our global infrastructure. This creates a new risk. What happens when a private company's satellite is targeted? Is that an attack on a business or an act of war? The line between public and private, civilian and military, has never been blurrier. The militarization of space is not inevitable, but it is accelerating. History tells us that every new frontier of technology eventually becomes part of warfare. We can choose differently this time. We can push for updated treaties, transparency, and international cooperation. We can treat space as a shared resource, not a contested battlefield. Because the consequences of failure won't just be military. They'll be economic, environmental, and existential. When you look up at the night sky tonight, remember, those tiny points of light are more than stars. They are satellites, space stations, human achievements, and potential flashpoints. The future of space is the future of humanity. The question is, will we write that future as a story of cooperation or conflict? The choice is still ours. If you found this episode thought-provoking, like, share, and subscribe to Econolocast for more deep-dive explorations into the forces shaping our world, from the markets on Earth to frontiers beyond it.